Well, good afternoon and welcome. My name is CHERYL COLETTI-LAWSON, and I'm the CEO and President of Hope for New Hampshire Recovery. And we're here today very excited to enter into a collaboration with the Derry Friendship Center to bring Hope for New Hampshire Recovery to the Derry community. We're really, really excited about this. You know, for those of you who know a little bit about Hope for New Hampshire Recovery, so we are a nonprofit organization who's been around probably since the late 90s, and some of the original founders of the organization are here in the room today. A great organization full of advocacy, delivering recovery supports for people struggling with addiction over the last 17 years. About 3 years ago, the organization kind of shifted its mission when the opioid addiction problem epidemic started. So Hope for New Hampshire Recovery comes to the epidemic delivering peer recovery supports in a community recovery center model, right? So peer recovery supports are critically important, and they can be provided in mental health settings, in primary care settings. But what we continue to advocate to all stakeholders is, without a connection back to community, our population isn't going to get well. So we are very, very happy to be here in Derry. So we have currently 3 centers that are open. Our first center started in Manchester a year ago. Since we opened our doors last July, we've had over 17,000 people walk through our doors. These are individuals, very good, right? These have been individuals who themselves are struggling with addiction, as well as family members. We always envisioned that recovery really begins when someone says they're in recovery, right? Someone raises their hand. We want to be known as the organization that puts their hand out. We always envisioned that Hope for New Hampshire Recovery would meet people on their journey in recovery once they identified a modality of treatment, if they needed treatment, whether it was detox, whether it was medical, whether it was 28-day residential, whether it was an intensive outpatient program. We envisioned helping people sustain recovery. What we have found is, because of the gap in services in our state, and I mean that in no negative way, because there are a lot of great people who are working really hard to build capacity, but there is a gap. We have found that Hope for New Hampshire Recovery has really started to see people on the front end. People are walking through our doors asking us to help them find solutions. So we are kind of the connective tissue, right? It's kind of like when I'm at my house and something's wrong with my plumbing, I open my toolbox and I pull out the plumber's business card, right? I'm not going to do it myself. So we come to community to really collaborate with everybody that's here. And we connect people to the right resources. So again, really excited to be here. As an organization, our strategic mission is, by the end of this year, we will have 7 centers open around the state. Today we open Derry, which is our 4th center. Monday we open in Claremont. August 5th we open in Berlin. For those of you in the media, it was scheduled for August 2nd. We made a move. It's August 5th. And then we're hopeful, depending on our build out and schedule, we will be open in Franklin around Labor Day. So that's 7 by the end of this year. We continue to do this without any state and federal funding. There is funding that is becoming available that we will be able to access, but for the last 2.5 years, we've done it with fundraisers. We've done it with business owners. We've done it with grants that we've had access to. Bake sales, car wash, you name it. And it's people that recognize the addiction, the problem with it, and I don't think there's one person that I talk to who isn't impacted by this personally. I have a friend, I have a brother, I have a mother, I myself. And I really should have started this by saying, my name is CHERYL and I'm a woman in long-term recovery. So what that means for me is I haven't had to have a drink of alcohol for 5 years. Yeah. So I do this personally, and I do it passionately, because I understand that life today is good. There was a time that it wasn't, and life today is good. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Carol Bowden, who is the board chair of Derry Friendship Center, who, again, we are so blessed to have the Derry Friendship Center collaborating with us. They're an amazing community partner, and what we hope to bring to them is just an expanded array of services for folks looking for solutions, because there are many pathways to recovery, not just a 12-step program. So we're blessed, and thank you for welcoming us into your home.
try to do this without crying. I also am a woman in long-term recovery. I just celebrated 30 years. I walked into the Derry Friendship Center when it was up on Broadway, 4th of July weekend, 1986, and that one event changed the whole course of my life. You know, the person you see up here today is not the person that walked in that door that day. The Derry Friendship Center, well, first of all, welcome and thank you for coming. This is a great show of support. You know, for years, the Derry Friendship Center flew under the radar, mainly because of the stigma that was attached to alcoholism and drug addiction. In fact, I met Josh through an editorial that he had written in the Derry News. Remember when someone at the town council said, "Oh, I heard the Derry Friendship Center moved from downtown." And they said, yeah, they did. They moved over to Railroad Ave. And this particular person said, ugh, not far enough. And so she said, you know, those people and that place. Well, you know what? That place, on an average, we have about 500 people per week that walk through our door. We've saved thousands of lives. You know, and you know, again, like Hope, we're a grassroots organization. We don't accept any government money. We never have. And if it were up to me, I don't think that we ever would. Nothing against government. This is not a political thing, but you know, we just want to be available and not have to be. Bureaucracy obviously has a life of its own. That's all I'm going to say. So anyway, so when I met Josh, and you know, I thought those people. Well, you know what? Those people are your brothers, your moms, your dads, your doctor, the nurse at the ER, your priest. You know, it covers alcoholism is non-discriminatory, but neither is recovery, right? Mm-hmm. And so, it can work for anyone if they seek the help. And we have provided a safe place for people to come for the last 37 years we've been in Derry. And we're finally coming out from under the radar. And with the help of Hope, you know, that even means more of coming out of the, you know, from under the radar and out from the stigma of this disease. You know, if someone had diabetes, no one would think ill of them. Someone has alcoholism, you know what, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and get it done. Well, that's not really how it works. We need peer-to-peer support, and that's what we're here for today. And that's what the Derry Friendship Center provides. And we've been very successful, and we're so excited and happy to have Hope part of our organization here today. And I'm going to end by putting a plug in. We are having one of our fundraisers. We have 4 fundraisers a year. One is called the Chocolate Ball. We have it every March. It's all the chocolate you can eat, all the coffee you can drink for $20. And a DJ and a dance. Where can you go for $20 and get that? And then we have a race that Josh organized in June. We have a 5K road race that we raise money from. And in October, we have our Celebrate Recovery event, which is going to be held this year at Brookstone Event Center. And that's our main source of funding. And that's what keeps our doors open so that we can help the next person that walks through the doors. Because if the Derry Friendship Center was not available 4th of July weekend, 1986, I would not be standing here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next person I would love to have come up and say a few words is Senator Kelly Ayotte. She has truly been a champion and a friend to us who fight the fight every day. She's clearly on the front lines for the people in New Hampshire fighting this addiction problem. 2 or 3 years ago, she started talking about the CARA bill, which I'm happy to say she'll talk about it, but I'm happy to say as of yesterday, it was passed, and yeah. And that is You know, that's the Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery Act, and really it talks about bringing supports for treatment, prevention, recovery, support for first responders. I mean, she's really been at the forefront of this fight. She's been holding roundtables in and around the state, you know, doing drive-alongs with first responders. I mean, when you talk about she's seeing it firsthand, she is. And, you know, I'm truly blessed to have her here with us. I think she realizes the fight isn't over and she'll continue to fight with us. So, Senator, my friend.
First of all, I want to thank you, Cheryl, for your leadership of HOPE, and Holly Sakala and all who are here who have made Hope for New Hampshire recovery possible, because these are a group of amazing, passionate people who are making a difference in our state. Not only what's happening here today in Derry, but I know it's going to be happening on Monday in Claremont as well. So thank you. And Carol, thank you for your passion for this too, because this is a wonderful partnership between the Derry Friendship Center and Hope for New Hampshire Recovery for people in the area to get the recovery support they need and really to get the help that they need. I know that there are many others here today. Your fire chief was here, Chief Gagnon, and I wanted to say thank you to Chief Gagnon for his work, because it's the first responders and also the Derry Police Department. They're on the front lines of this also. And what I've heard from them is really, we can't arrest our way out of this. What we need is help. We need support. We need treatment for those who are struggling with addiction. I know also your state senator, Regina Birdsell, many of your state representatives. In fact, Phyllis Katsoukaris was just down in Washington talking to me about this very, very issue of wanting more support in the area. And I also want to thank Joe Harding for, you know, I had the opportunity to work with him when I was Attorney General, and he's been working on these issues of substance use disorders for a long while. So thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. We passed two days ago a bill that really, I have to say, Hope for New Hampshire, people like Cheryl and Melissa Cruz and Holly and others inspired me to get engaged in, and I was glad to be one of the lead authors of the bill. But we didn't draft the bill, the four of us that put it together on both sides of the aisle. It was really drafted from those on the front lines. We went to 250 groups across the country, including Hope for New Hampshire, others here in New Hampshire, our law enforcement community, those on addiction experts, prevention, treatment, and we put together the best, the best really focus on how do we address prevention, how do we address treatment and recovery, the recognition that finally that recovery is as important as anything else to long-term success here. But most of all, I would say as a whole, it's the recognition that this is a public health issue. That exactly to Carol's point, that we can't have the stigma because people will not come forward and seek treatment. And I know that there are many in this room who have lost someone that they love, and often people don't come forward because they feel like the stigma is there and they will be judged. And so we're here today to say, thank you for opening this new center with Hope and with the Friendship Center. But those who are out there, please, we don't want you to feel the stigma. We want you to know that we understand that this is a disease, you need the help, and that I'm going to continue to work at the federal level, not only now that we've gotten CARA passed, but to make sure that those programs are funded. We've seen some significant improvements in the Appropriations Committee, but there's a lot more work to do, and I'm going to continue that fight to help give the effort and the support. We can't solve this from Washington, but the support for those on the front lines, like Hope, like the Friendship Center, like many others in our state that are working. I know Eric Spofford was here too as well in treatment, there he is, and in making sure that people get treatment, support for recovery, so that we can turn this around, because this is about saving lives. And those numbers aren't statistics. Those are people we've lost. Those are people who could have led incredibly productive lives to make a difference for our state, and we don't want anyone else to lose their life to addiction. So I hope today, not only here, but I know in Claremont on Monday, I just thank Hope, and I thank the Derry Friendship Center and all who are involved in this, and we'll continue to work on this together. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I introduce the next person, I just want to take a moment and give a shout out to some folks who work hard every day, day in and day out. They are the epitome of the overworked and underpaid. So Holly Sakala is my Vice President of Programs. She is an amazing person. She is the brains behind the organization. I get up every day knowing I get to work with her, and I'm just blessed and grateful. We have Kelly Riley, who is our center manager, who oversees Manchester. She'll also oversee. She'll also oversee Derry for us. We have Paula Hurd here, who's one of our peer coaches who will be working here in community. A lot of people in community know her. Carla Gallagher is here in the crowd. She's another longtime employee with Hope, another valuable asset. We have a lot of folks that have come and done a road trip with us today who've come to join us from Amber's Place. Amber's Place is a program of hope. And what Amber's Place is it's a recovery respite. One of our board members, Chris Blevins, had a vision a while ago, because while we're all working to bridge the gap in services, we recognize there is a little gap between when someone raises their hand and wants help and we're able to place them in treatment. So we have a program of Amber's Place where we bridge that gap, and we welcome people in. We give them a bed, we give them a meal, and we kind of hold them for a few days until we can place them somewhere. So some of the folks have come to join us today to see what recovery looks like. And if there's anyone else I missed from our organization, I'm sorry, Brian Mooney, who's one of our data gurus. He helps me with all the nuts and bolts. I want to say welcome to James VARA. He is the, make sure I get this right, he's the Governor's Director of Behavioral Health and Substance Use Disorder. Okay, it's better than drugs are, okay? Okay. So I want to welcome him for a few minutes.
Okay, so before I start, so the official title is the Governor's Advisor on Addiction and Behavioral Health. That's a difficult title, okay? Let's be real. So I'm tended to be called the drug czar, but there really is, for those that have heard me say this, it's really something I do not want to be called in any way, shape, or form. It's a bad title. So everyone has tried to come up with a title. I am not tall, as I'm the shortest person actually that stood up so far. So everyone now wants to call me their little brother. So I guess that's better than the drug czar, I guess. Maybe it's something about my appearance of my age, but I am not that young either. So Cheryl, thank you for having me. Cheryl and I have seen each other since I started this position on April 7th, more so than we've seen our respective families at some point, some weeks. Well, Holly as well. Holly tends to see me very often as well. It's so important that recovery plays such a large piece in people's lives. And that's something I think that needs to continuously be heard. That's something that is really not talked about enough. So when I took this position over on April 7th, that day will forever live in my heart and mind forever, because I think I was, actually before I had officially started, I've now been, this is the third event that I've actually been at related to Hope. So the first one was in March, if my memory serves correct, was Amber's Place. The second one was the opening in Concord, which was about a month and a half ago. Does that sound about right? It's been a busy 3 months. And then thirdly, this one today. And hopefully, Holly and I were talking about if I can get up to Claremont, which is actually close to where I live. I won't be able to make it, but I certainly will do my best to make it up to Berlin. It's so important, all of you coming here today, too. And when talking about, there was discussion of the government, and it's an important thing to talk about. You know, and one of the things when I started was figuring out where those gaps are and where those gaps are in the state. So when you think about those things, do we have enough treatment? And everyone's going to shake their head no, so you don't even necessarily need to do it. Do we have enough related to prevention? Money's related to prevention? Absolutely not. Are we doing enough with law enforcement? Not so. Are we doing enough with education? Which I add that to, many people talk about the four things. I add the fifth being education. And then are we doing enough towards recovery? And when you think of all of those things, I just want to give one note of what the state has done since January of this calendar year. For substance use disorders, be it treatment, prevention, education, and not enforcement, which I'll talk a little bit about enforcement, it's been over $20 million since January. You know, that's getting us, thank you. So that's getting us to a new point in time of where we need to be. Some of it, frankly, is infrastructure. But I also want to talk about some other things. So part of that $20 million is $1.5 million towards recovery throughout the state. Because look, we have it here, we have it throughout the state, but we do not have it, throughout the state yet, and it needs to be throughout the state. Where someone, like CHERYL said, raises their hand and wants to say, I need help, to be able to come to a place, and that's so important, and that will be done soon enough. Secondly, another part, $500,000 has been allocated through a piece of legislation, directly again towards recovery, peer-to-peer support. These monies need to get out the door and to all those that need it. And it's really, there has been a true change, and I think those of us that are in this community, so we're all part of the community now, are starting to see a true change. A change of not only through the allocation of money, through community partners working together, understanding that we have a large task ahead, but we're doing what we can to help people. And that's really the true message. And this center really is another avenue for people having success. So thank you for having me. It's again, we'll see each other. So it's not a goodbye. It's I'll see you probably later today. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are a couple of times we've been in meetings like 3 times a day. So there's 2 more folks that I want to introduce. I want to take a moment to introduce. You probably all know him, is Josh Bowden, and you know Josh is a town councilor at large. He's a candidate for the executive council. Very pleased that he has developed the 5K run to support the Derry Friendship Center, so he understands the challenges that recovery support services and recovery centers need from a funding perspective. Really just when he heard about this collaboration, just email, call, jumped in, just really excited about it. Got me in touch with some of the local officials that I hadn't met yet. Really blessed to have him in the community, and I would like to welcome him to say a few words.
First off, I want to thank everyone for coming out. When I look around the room, what I see is community and collaboration. Nearly 6 years ago, I was in the Derry Friendship Center, but it was for a different reason. I'm also someone who's in recovery. I didn't speak that first night that I came to the Derry Friendship Center. I actually sat way in the back, and I was a far different person than I am today. Today, I'm someone who's living up to my potential. You know, I wouldn't have this ring on my finger. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't be a town councilor. I wouldn't be running. I wouldn't be helping to create 5K road races. And I say helping because I'll get to that in a minute. But I can't thank enough what the Derry Friendship Center has allowed me to see, to grasp, and to take advantage of. And CHERYL had mentioned, I'd watched a town council meeting because I was, about 2-3 years into my recovery, and I was wanting to get more involved and wanting to fill that void and to help others. And I had heard, at a meeting on TV about those people in this place. And to me, it was absolutely unacceptable because, well, I knew I was somebody, and I was doing good things, and I had potential. And I knew, members of my family, no one grows up wanting to be addicted to something or wanting to have those shackles on that I was feeling when I was going through my struggles. So, I wanted better for our community. I ran, I got involved, and executive council got brought up. I'll only touch on that for a second. I see what's going on in the state. I believe we can do more. And that's my main focus point, and I want to be there to make sure that our next governor, doesn't take his or her eye off the prize, and that we get out in front of this. With regards to the Run for Recovery and community and collaboration, I was only a piece of a group of people who came together. That race would not have happened if it wasn't for Eric Spofford and the Granite House. And we should definitely give him and Jeff Hatch a round of applause. and Tanya Torello, who's not here. I mean, without people like that, none of this happens. And you know, with regards to community and collaboration, as a town councilor, I've showed up at nearly a dozen or so grand openings. Never once have I seen this many people at a grand opening. So I really appreciate all you, and you should all give yourselves a round. I remember 3 years ago talking with Eric about some of the trials and tribulations that he went through when he was looking to, you know, take a stand, lead by example, and create the Granite House here in Derry. And at that time, you know, Derry was very similar to many communities. We want to do something, but we don't want it here in our backyard. And he helped break down those barriers. He stood firm, and I think you look how far we've come today. Now we're working together, whether it's the Granite House, whether it's, you know, the Derry Friendship Center, Hope for Recovery. We're communicating. We have, you know, our politicians and our senators bringing guys like him, listening to guys like him, Eric Spofford, and bringing them to Washington. That's what we as elected officials need to be doing, in my opinion. It's connecting people to make sure events like this can happen. It's listening to the people on the ground who truly know what's going on, and making sure that, you know, the laws and the bills that get created are centered around what works. But I'll leave it at that. I can't thank the Derry Friendship Center enough. I'm so excited for Hope for Recovery and for all the other organizations that are working together in a way that never have come together before. And I'm so grateful to see a community like this finally leading by example. And we are lucky to have this happening in Derry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lastly, I'd like to introduce or welcome up to the mic Chief Gagnon. You know, nobody knows more than the first responders, you know, what they're seeing on the front lines. And, you know, every day they put their life on the line. Every day they're there trying to save people and help. And, you know, we just can't thank them enough. So, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. To the Hope House recovery administrators and staff, welcome to Derry. We are so fortunate to have you here. And also thank you to the Friendship Center for helping make this recovery center a reality. I understand there's many different types of addiction, but one of the ones that we've been responding to on a regular basis from the emergency response mode is the opioid crisis. Over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen a drastic rise in opioid overdoses. In response to this, we've partnered with several community agencies in the area to provide CPR and Narcan administration training and information to addicts and their families. In fact, we have another training scheduled at this location at the end of the month. We're proud of our efforts of our regional consortium in dealing with this crisis, but realize that much more work needs to be done. Having a Hope for Recovery office in Derry will be a tremendous resource to assist us in dealing with this crisis. The opioid crisis is extremely concerning for us. We're taking it very seriously and look forward to a continued collaboration with our regional consortium to include Hope for Recovery staff to further enhance our response to this emergency. Once again, welcome to Derry. We appreciate you and look forward to collaborating with you as we move forward.
Okay, that ends the presentation. We'd just like to do a ribbon cutting. Senator James, Josh, Chief, who else am I forgetting? Holly, Carol, please. Anyone else you'd like joining us from the Derry Friendship Center? Ribbon. Joe, come join us.
Why not?
3, 4, go.